Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something you definitely haven't seen before. And in case you did, forget about it, because this is going to be much more better than anything you have seen. This is Champions Queue, European edition. It's a little bit different to the one that we have in North America right now, so keep in touch and let's see what we're going to have today here. My name is DrBrilmann. I'm joined here by none other than Zanzarah.
Hello, hello, hello.
And by Wonderful, who is an amazing caster for LCL. Hello, sir.
What's up, friends?
So, what I'm going to have a look at today is relatively simple and relatively interesting, I would say, because we are going to have a look on champion picks, champion pools, and the meta state momentarily. Looking at the EU Masters, looking at the LEC playoffs, specifically at the team who has qualified for the MSI, which is, of course, G2 Esports. And we're going to try to understand and establish what are the most interesting picks, what are picks that work the most, and where is meta currently headed, I would say. Right, where are we trying to go, what are we trying to see, and what is probably the most efficient way to play professional League of Legends. So, before we go any further, do you want to say anything? Do you have any specific takes that you want to give us before we're going to jump into the stats and looking at those individual picks and champions?
Not from me. I think we can just discuss. There is a lot of stuff to discuss. I think overall, especially in the LEC playoffs, what was happening with this G2 comeback miracle run, kinda. So yeah, just let's go.
All right. So, would you like to start with EU Masters, or should we have a quick look first at G2? And their run in the playoffs and see what we can establish over there.
I think starting with Masters is better because at least, so people can have an idea what how to spend their money when they gamble, for example.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we can start. Yeah, I don't have much info about your Masters, but yeah.
I mean, Masters isn't much different, right? Because
yeah.
After all these teams, they all practice with. Well, I mean. They try and practice with LEC teams, of course.
Yeah.
Nikolai knows that not many of them get a chance to screen with LEC teams.
I mean, I know what many European Masters teams are better than LEC teams. So.
And after all, Nikolai had more success in EU Masters than he does so far.
It's true. It's
fair that we start with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, looking at the EU Masters, I think it's pretty fair to say that we are looking at the very stable meta and very stable amount of picks, which is, I don't want to say a little bit surprising, but it is slightly surprising that we don't see some specific champions, and we will probably have a little bit of a detailed look into this later. But just in general, for your information, looking at one of those popular champions, we have, of course, Zeri being one of the most, let's say, attention-seeking champions. She sits with the most amount of bans, which is 50, right? Then there is Rice, who comes second with 43. There is Volibear with 36 bans, and so on and so forth. The most played champion is, of course, Nautilus, with 41 game being played. And then we have some other champion like Volibear, Ari, and Jinx. So you can pretty much see that the meta, momentarily, I would say, is relatively stable. We've seen those picks in the spring split and the spring season just in general. And now we see that type of a transition into the EU Masters meta as well. So if we go by the individual lanes, let's go, for example, to the top lane. So the champions to work with in here would be the following. We have Gnar, we have Ornn, and we have Jace, right? With Gnar having 31 game, with a relatively good win rate, 17 wins, 14 losses. Then we have Ornn with 28 games, with 9 wins and 19 losses. So On Duty is not working at all, right? And then we've got Jace with 11 games being played by 11 players. So
that doesn't really work like that. If champion doesn't win a lot, it doesn't mean that champion sucks. It just means that a weaker team played it. That's
I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm not saying that the champion doesn't work.
Yeah, then it means that On Duty is actually working because he got 28 games, as you say. So the people are actually eager to go on Duty.
But that's what I'm interested in quite a bit, to be honest, because I've always treated On to be a champion that goes well into almost any team composition. You want to fight for objectives, go ahead, pick yourself an On. You want to have a very hard-hitting team composition, okay, go ahead, pick an On. You want to play top weak side, go ahead, pick On, right? And seeing him perform so poorly kind of surprises me a little bit.
I mean, I can say about that for sure. I think the problem with Ornn right now, so G2 just stomp everyone with Ornn, and people are like, okay, let's go. It's time to pick Ornn and win everything. So I think weaker teams who are like not really confident with their like carry potential on top side, they just like jump on the Ornn and just trying to play like easy game style when you just make top pick side and play bot. And I think like stronger team, they kind of managed to punish it like with like different picks. And this is why we see like there's like a lot of Ornn loses, and yeah, I mean this is the main like reason why weaker teams prioritize Ornn so much, because for example when you play Gnar and you play Jace, there is like you need much more execution and like game knowledge to execute them properly, involve them into your game. So yeah, I mean this was like always the case with the tanks, I think, on top side, and I think right now just like teams like still trying to kind of learn how to play Ornn, and teams what like didn't really play it before just tend to pick up, but they don't have, I mean they're not able to pick it up in like 1-2 days. They just need like they kind of need to change the whole like playstyle strategy, because we saw, for example, I mean the whole spring split, especially in like EUEls, we saw like a lot of Hullbreaker abusers, Trundamir stop, like Jace, these champions what they want to be strong side, and if you pick Ornn, you just do completely opposite. So people kind of like just struggling to adapt, I think, and this is why we see Ornn have like low win rate.
And you just kind of like look at the stats even to figure out what happened, and you see that almost all of these losses, like the vast majority of them, are the plane teams, which have not advanced even to the bracket stage in the plane. So those are by default the weaker teams. So of course they're going to lose. But like you see how Ornn is abused, for example, then EG play Ornn when Impact does it, and then Inspa just like comes and can play carry top, so they essentially diffuse that. So Ornn is pretty valuable right now in general. Like even if LPL, for example, doesn't use it, you see that in Europe it's much more popular. We'll see how it unfolds at MSI when the meta changes, but Ornn is always like fine, especially nowadays meta when the TP isn't available until min 14, so the game of course is botlane centric, so of course Ornn is going to be more valuable because he can create advantages for himself. He doesn't need you, he just has a spellbook, and that's, as we all know, more than enough.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's true. I think like overall, like teams kind of struggling to counter-pick Ornn also, because most of the time we see like Ornn into Jace. What is like, yeah, if Ornn doesn't get Dove like level 3, he just like starts winning after that, like always. And yeah, and the same like versus Gnar. I just kind of want to see more picks like I don't know, like Illaoi, maybe like just something like cheesy stuff, because people shouldn't get away with like just blind Ornn and just.
Which is one of the reasons why Ornn isn't picked in LPL, because LPL is so full of like Fiora players.
Yeah,
nobody is actually crazy enough to pick Ornn blind, because they know what's going to happen after that.
And we haven't actually seen a lot of Fiora coming.
And nobody plays Fiora. That's a problem of Western scene in general, that Western scene struggles to play a lot of champions. Asian team does. Team, like Twisted Fate, for example, is in Asia it's going to be like always, it's going to be like insane. And then you look at the Western games and it's like, meh.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Same with Jace, same with like Fiora, same with like other champions, which is like, that just kind of happens.
And you know what actually surprised me quite a little bit when I was looking at the top lane meta, let's say, that when we were going through the Ultraliga split, it was a fairly common thing, especially when we had the Hullbreaker abusement type of stage, let's say, right? The very popular picks on the top lane were Camille and Graves. Right now, I feel like Graves almost absolutely disappeared in terms of the Irreal scene, right? And Camille is actually not being very popular as well. She only had 11 games played by 9 different players, which is not quite a lot if you compare it to the spring season, in the, let's say, the middles and even the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, go on.
That's like the same stuff with how meta works. It's like some teams just play different, like they play Champion X and Champion Y. So everybody else is going to be, okay, so this team played this and that, so we're going to play it as well. And they kind of forget what happens. They don't stick to their roots. So even if the Ultraliga teams have played Camille, Graves, as you say, those champions are still valuable. They're still insane. You see, like LPL teams, LCK teams use them to a great success overall. But because in Europe, like some teams don't play it, everybody's like, something's fishy with that. We're not gonna use that. We're gonna play Gnar, we're gonna play Ornn because everybody does it, and we're gonna play what, Jace,
yeah.
maybe like Aatrox and some stuff which is like on the rise. That's how meta works. It doesn't actually require champions to be nerfed or buffed. It just requires teams to be playing them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure how like in RL, but I can talk for LEC, I think. Like mostly, so like basically we didn't really have like this split, at least like good Camille players. It was like only Alfari, and he was like the one who played it, I think. I don't think anyone else played it, not sure honestly. And like about Graves kind of fall off from the meta, I think, after the Hullbreaker nerf. I think like everyone jumped on like Graves hype trade after like people discovered the Hullbreaker build, but then he got nerfed, and people like were still playing in Korea and China with just like crit build or like full lethality build. But in Europe they just like, so basically we need to like understand what like in Europe people just prefer to make things simple, and if you kind of make a draft when you need to play like perfect 1-3-1 on the or something like this, people don't like that because just make things complicated for no reason. So they kind of stick into make like more team fight comps. So, and then if you pick Graves, you kind of don't doing anything, and then they start like shifting more towards like Ornn, Gnar. We saw it a lot. Even like even G2 did this. You know, they were playing a lot of like with Yon top lane, Trundamer top lane. But then at the end of the day, just pick Ornn. We just go team fight. Just make things simple. That's all.
And speaking basically of team fights, right now I think it's relatively safe to say that meta has shifted quite heavily into team fighting and just in general, right? Because it's quite often that we see people opting, at the very least in ARLs, that's where we saw it quite a lot, especially in Ultraliga, to be honest. We saw so many teams, actually even those as well who have advanced in the EU Masters, for example, Agarogue. We see them so many times opting for the best team fighting potential rather than anything else, right? So my way of looking at it is thinking about what can you pick in the top lane right now. Rather, it doesn't really matter if it's going to be cheesy or if it's going to be something completely broken from the Asian regions or whatever you can come up with. Even if it's going to be Soraka top, I'm not going to judge you. But what can we try to go for? What can we pick in order to elevate our team fighting compositions? Because, for example, for me, I'm really sad to see a big lack of Shen, even though I do sincerely love that champion.
I mean, I'm not sure about Shen, honestly. So like basically, we need to make a statement about Europe. Doesn't matter what is meta, it's gonna be teamfight meta. Even if you play Trundamir and Gravis, you're just gonna teamfight. It's true for LEC. So like, I mean, basically like Fnatic, G2, maybe they can play like better, you know, but most of the teams, they just fall in this trap. Like we just play, doesn't matter what draft is it, who has better teamfight win the game. Not sure like how it will work in like in ERLs. But overall, I mean, I was thinking about like meta gonna go more towards tanks on top lane. So like we see On already, maybe we're gonna see more like Gragas, Sion showing up, something like this. So people just kind of handshake instead of counter picking, because I don't think there is like really good top laners who are confident to like go in official game and punish Ornn with Fiora, at least like in Europe. So, but I think at MSI it's not gonna happen. I mean, there is, I think some teams will try to force it kinda, but I think at MSI we're just gonna see more like, as Wander said, just like punish picks like Fiora. I don't know what is it, like Urgot.
Yeah, but that's only for the Asian teams. If you see, if you take a look at the teams who have already qualified, for example, the wildcard teams, and most of them are like very botlane centric teams.
Yeah.
With absolute Ornn abusers in the top lane. Like Ornn, Sion, all that stuff is going to be, especially with like the lifesteal nerfs which happened last patch, or like whenever it was. So of course the tanks are going to be even stronger right now.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to play weak side. Maybe people are going to play like Tryndamere. Maybe somebody is going to bust out Renekton, which is still a good pick, no matter what people say. It's still more than fine if you know what to do with it and not abuse it for yourself.
Yep.
So yeah, like you see that right, are buffing for like the MSI. Of course, we're going to get to that point, but they're buffing like Jhin, like Zoe, all that stuff which is supposed to poke. So of course, Jace is gonna stay, and if all these champions stay, that means the tanks are going to be insane. That means that everybody's going to be like Ornn and Sion. Okay, let's go. Maybe Malphite, which is still good pick, great pick against like Chase, against Gnar, against other stuff. Maybe we're going to get to that. Of course, like LPL teams are going to be like, we're going to play Fiora, we're going to play Riri, we're going to play Camille, maybe we're going to play Graves, same with like T1 for example, same with PSG Town who are going to play Gangplank, even though Hanabi is like an insane Ornn player, etc. That's just kind of, the meta isn't really like, the MSI meta is going to be very different from ERL meta because the players are more, dare I say, the better players, the more quality players, even with in the wildcard teams.
More experienced, I would even say.
No, not really. Like, it's not about experience, because in ERLs you see, like, for example, like Kabashard plays this game for 10 years. Can you really say that somebody is more experienced than him? Not really. So that's kind of how it gets. So we'll see. But for now, I think, what do we need? We need a tank top? Just like pick whatever we want. Maybe Urgot is going to be insane at MSI, who knows? There are some Urgot players.
I mean, Poppy got the really huge.
Yeah, but I'm going to play top lane Poppy.
Yeah, I mean, well, I know they can just like.
I think it's your champion.
I mean, it's my champion, of course, but nothing stopped you from flexing it, you know. Just first with one.
I'm not sure that W cooldown buff is, or like the.
I mean, it's not about that.
Ultimate is a top lane buff.
Yeah, no, I mean, like
sure.
Ultimate buff is pretty decent, especially like the just like uncharged, because right now you can like land double Q like on if you ult target.
So we're like supposed to go the Trinity Force, Black Clear.
No, I mean the Household Divine Center, Trinity Force. Yeah, it's not the Bruiser item. I can call it that. But yeah, I mean overall, yeah, I mean I kind of agree with Wander. So like I think the problem is like in terms of like tops. I think like in MSI there is like much more like teams who are like willing to take a risk, and this is why we're gonna see more like champions like Fiora trying to punish but like Fiora, Camille, we're gonna see 100% like into tanks. But I think most teams they're just gonna fall into like just pick tank top, and then it's gonna be something like, because we see right now what Zaya getting nerfed also, so Lethality kinda getting nerfed. Zaya kinda dead from what I saw in the patch. Because right now I think there is a lot of MF Zaya.
But if the tanks are going to come in, everybody is going to play on-hit Zaya, which was buffed 3 times.
I mean, yeah, one-hit Zaya is good, but like, what the point to pick one-hit Zaya if there is still a Phelios? You don't just pick Jinx even after the nerf. They're just gonna do like better job.
I still think she's going to be fine.
There's also Seri in the equation.
They nerfed it 5 times before. They nerfed it once. So
I
there are
mean,
still
well,
bugs.
but you know how people see it.
Yes,
no?
that's
You
the
buff
problem.
5 times, you nerf one, and yeah, good.
I remember
goodbye.
the joke in like what season 4 or whatever that was when Kha'Zix was absolutely insane, going wild in the jungle, and then
Yep.
right nerfed 5 damage on the W, and he just completely disappeared.
Yeah.
Even though he was absolutely busted, he just completely disappeared from the game. Everybody was like, "Are you kidding me, man?"
No,
That's 5 damage.
it was like the main example of this. It is like Riot really likes like in the past nerf like 5 movement speed, and then the peak rate of champion drops, and you're like, okay, nice, definitely most champion right now.
I feel like when we are looking at top lane, which is pretty much wrapping itself up here, but I think it's pretty safe to say that right now, this is probably the most uncreative place for the Irreals at the very least, right? Because we don't really see a lot of exciting things happening there.
I don't think that's true. I
Nah,
don't
not
think that's
true.
true because we can legit say the same about like 4 lanes right now. Well, I mean
Yep.
4 roles. Besides the mid lane, every other role is essentially like 3-4 champions max. You look at the jungle and there's like the bear, the Viego, the John the Fourth, and like somebody else is good. Like
Lee
Rubble
Sin
is going to
Hecarim.
play Ilia. Like somebody's just going like.
Yeah, but to be fair, when we go a little bit lower, there is, well, lower in terms of lanes, at least from my experience, what I have is we see a lot of teams trying to opt for interesting combos at the very least, right? Trying to come up with something.
I know that the way you get in with for that like Soraka bot lane, like Xerath bot lane. That's like a cheese pick. We can't say that it's meta. That's essentially like,
Diana
we're
Yasuo
gonna
has been
upgrade the
reintroduced
champion.
actually. Diana Yasuo combo, and it works.
I mean,
I
is it
didn't see
really?
it
Is
for
it
a long
really
time,
you?
not gonna lie. Wait,
I think
did they
everybody
play
in
it?
the group knew that. they
Sorry?
didn't see it.
Did they play Diana Yasuo in your Masters?
In Ultraliga, and I think in EUEmasters, Eska played it even. They haven't really qualified because they're really inexperienced guys and they haven't managed to get out of the group stage. But they have been playing it in the Ultraliga quite successfully, I might even add. And they have been wrecking a lot of teams, including giving a very heavy beating to Agarogue, one of the teams that have qualified out of the group stage.
Yeah, I mean how it's called. I think like even in LEC, like start of the season, Madlice played it. I remember like there was team who are playing like Diana Yasuo, but at the end, you know, team fights. Just pick control mage, just kill them. This is the play. You know, I mean Diana Yasuo, I cannot say really what is like hard to execute, but I think it requires a lot of skills, especially from the Yasuo player. And if you don't have like OTP Yasuo kinda, if you don't have a leader in your team, it's kind of tough to play, because when your Yasuo is like minus 30 CS minute 10, yeah, you have Diana Yasuo, but you just literally doesn't have damage to kill, and you need like 5-man combo. If enemy have like mouse, they will not fall into that.
No. He's approaching his power spike slowly but surely. He's approaching it. Yeah, you know, it's all planned. It's all planned before. But actually, let's just move on towards jungle and then to the mid lane, because I have a feeling that this is where we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations. So now we're getting to the I'd like to call it Zanzarah's field.
Yeah.
Because I have looked up. I did it specifically for you. Trundle has been picked 8 times. He has 50% win rate, and he has been picked by 7 different players, but he's by far not the most popular one. We have Volibear on the first one with 36 games, 25 wins, 11 losses. Viego with 33 games, 14 wins and 19 losses. And then Lee Sin with 24 games, 10 wins, 14 losses. Then we have Jarvan the fourth with 16 and 16 different players, and Hecarim 11 different players. So they're kind of falling behind. But the golden trio is Volibear, Viego, and Lee Sin.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised to see Lee Sin, to be honest, because he has been nerfed, and quite heavily, I would say.
There was like talks about why Lee Sin is so popular. I mean, overall, you know, it's like when you don't know what to play, you just play Lee Sin. This is how jungle meta works and how like junglers works. Even though he got nerfed, you know, but he can still like ward jump, kick, someone, he's still like kind of strong in the early game. Yeah. So I mean, overall, I mean, you just jump on Lee Sin because you like CBA learning like different champs, you know. It's like from outside perspective, it looks strange because he kind of not the optimal pick, and there was champion like what much easier to execute around, but you still jump on Lee Sin. But if you look like inside, kinda like people who had like 1K games on Lee Sin like every season, of course they're just gonna pick Lee Sin because they feel more comfortable. They just don't wanna spend time on anything else. But about like Trundle topic, I mean, this is like for me, it's like people are kinda delusional. What, for example, right now I don't understand why you pick Viego over Trundle. Like Viego is a champion who requires so much setup from your team. And like most of the time you are like not able to do that, so and Trundle, you just pick Trundle and you like chilling, especially right now like when there is like a lot of tanks. If enemy pick only just pick Trundle, you can do like a lot of stuff. Just pick Trundle, much easier to play, especially. So yeah, but about like Volibear Jarvan being high, it's understandable. I think like Volibear just like the strongest jungler right now. He wins almost all like 1v1s early game. I think early game have like a lot of impact, at least like people trying to play a lot of early game. So it's like no surprise we see Volibear and Jarvan being there. And they're like just simple champions. Volibear just run forward stun and Jarvan just combo ult, that's all. Like you don't need to do something, you know. Like, this is kind of awkward for me also to see Lee Sin, you know. You see these champions? You see these champions and people don't like go Lee Sin, but I think Lee Sin doesn't have like that much in rate, and I think like teams, like really good teams was playing Lee Sin, no? Because from jungle I saw like the chat, especially from the good teams like K Corp, you know. Like okay, K Corp just one trick pony Xin Zhao. I mean, he's not one trick pony Xin Zhao, but like I feel like he's just scared to play anything else, you know. I didn't watch the recent games, but I remember the whole LFL and playoff season they were playing Xin Zhao, and when it banned, their playstyle like became like much worse, like his impact on the game. Then the LDLC, it's Viego guy, he just let me Viego every time. Like it's actually like I mean it's working, right? So you cannot really judge it or just flame it, you know. But there is like a lot of junglers, I think I think overall teams prefer to not target jungle in terms of like bans. They can like ban Volibear and then like yeah, it's fine. And then you can just literally get like 20 games of Viego and nobody gonna stop you. And from the team's perspective, I think it's fine, right? I mean, especially like in aerials, you just play in one champion. If you like enjoy it, you know, and you do a lot, why not just keep playing one champion? But the problem is gonna be like later on when people like, okay, we just banned Viego, what do? You know? Are you gonna drop from your like comfort zone, or you have like similar type of champions? I remember like when we were playing in Ego and EU Masters, we were trying to play like as much, like we were trying to make difference of the champions like in competitive, so people feel comfortable, because when you play one champion like in competitive, then it's like in officials it's much harder to like just jump to other one, you know, like straight up. In scrims you can have like 20 champion pool and you can tell everyone I have like 20 champions, right? But only what matters is official games, and the official games is completely different things.
Oh, of course. But something that I'm so really surprised, and you have touched it, and you even said it yourself, like, why are you picking Lee Sin? I mean, yeah, okay, we understand why you're picking Lee Sin over Jarvan the Fourth, but speaking about playmaking, Jarvan the Fourth, he can't make you the plays, right? As soon as he hits his level 6, he is ready to go there and do those playmaking maneuvers. While Lee Sin, slowly over time, he loses his impact on the map, which is a little bit not okay, I would say, in a certain scenario.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really see that much like super late games, right? When it make kind of a difference, right? Because like, let's be honest, Jarvan, if he goes like champ tank stopwatch, he can like win a lot of time, but he kind of downscales also, right? Because he like especially like after 3 items, he kind of get one shot by DK anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's more about like comfort zone, because I think people they're playing what they like to play. They're not playing what is like best in some situations, because I mean this is how people works. Like I mean this is just like this is why it's ERLs, right? There is like there is players that just doesn't have like enough champion pool. They just prefer this champion. They're gonna play it, even though maybe like situation is not that optimal for this champion to be there. So yeah, but I think this is the main reason why we see Lee Sin. I don't think I mean I think he's like fine right now. He's not weak, but he's for sure. And there is like for sure situations when you just wanna pick Jarvan because it's just simple. You know what you need to do in the game, and that's all. But people like just like Lee Sin, and yeah, you cannot blame them for that, no.
Lesson from today, folks.
It's like the highest pick jungler in the actual matches, not in the play-ins. Because the bad teams have already been eliminated, the teams which have literally got to the EU Masters by playing this, because they could outplay their teams. Because that's how ERLs work. I don't need to like tell anybody who watches it or like you that there is a big discrepancy in ERLs between the top teams and between the weaker teams. There is like a massive one. So of course, at some point, if you need to outplay the team with your hands, Lee Sin is a prime example of like being able to do that, and that's why people just pick it. And that's why it doesn't work at EU Masters itself, because same to the big international events, at some point you're gonna get matched by the better players, and that's what happens. That's why it doesn't win. That's why it doesn't get big.
Yeah.
I feel like the lesson from today, folks: pick Trundle. When you don't know, pick Trundle.
The Trundle is gonna be insane at MSI, because Sejuani and Poppy are getting buffed. If the tanks are getting buffed in the top lane, if the poke champions are gonna be fine. Well, that's another frozen domain for our king, because the game is just gonna be... I'm getting pretty worried, honestly. Like, looking at the meta, I'm getting pretty worried, because I have absolute awful flashbacks from last season MSI, when like there were 15 champions, including like Gnar, Udyr, Rumble, Kai'Sa, Tristana, and Victor, and like Nautilus, and they were like every game. And I'm pretty sure that this time is not gonna be much different, especially because they're gonna play on 35 ping, which is considered a lot by some players.
No, I don't know, like, they're delusional. Like, 100 ping in challenger easy, by the way. So, like, the point is, I just want to make a first point. I think, like, right now, like, in jungle, especially, like, this patch, the new patch, like, added a lot. We saw, like, the Karthus buff also. So, I think we should see Karthus, honestly. I think Karthus is really strong. Especially versus this like useless Jarvans, and like I mean Volibear is hard to play kinda, but Jarvans, if he goes champ tank, you just like free farm and then you kill his team on 2 items. And I think we should see like more Sejuani also. I started playing her like before the buff, and buff seems honestly like kinda huge right now what we saw. Especially if we're gonna see more like Irelia mid lane, this kind of a thing, if people like willing to play it. I mean, we would say maybe Yasuo, not sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that there is like a lot of tank champions can be added to the jungle pool also, and of course people just gonna pick Volibear and don't think like this is 100%. But I think at some point Volibear is just gonna be permabanned, and then there's gonna be like something interesting happening in jungle.
So that means we're moving into the mid lane. What we have there is relatively interesting thanks to the rework of Ahri. Meta got shifted a little bit, especially, I would say, especially in Ultraliga, because before the Ahri regaining her popularity, everything we saw basically was Corki Victor, and that was pretty much it. Like, you legitimately were watching, I don't know, 20 games, right? And let's say 15 of them would be just Victor Corki, Victor Corki, Victor Corki, Corki Victor, Victor Corki, right? And that's it.
It's in Ultraliga, right?
Yes, in Ultraliga, yeah.
But it's like, it's what did you expect? It's like Polish chorus and Polish Victor. I mean, there should be Ariana also, I'm pretty sure.
No, she almost wasn't there. That's the thing. You know,
okay.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. But when you're casting, because we were casting every single week, all 5 games, right? Both days. So by the end of the split, you have something like 120 plus games casted by 12 weeks. And when approximately 70 of those games have been Victor Corki, You have an allergy.
You and your friend are just not very experienced casters, because what it allows you to chill during the game, because you know exactly what's going to happen. You don't need to overreact to anything. You know that this game is going to last this much, this long, and this is what's going to happen. That's what you need. That's exactly what you need. To rest through the hard day, 5 games a day, 4 games Victor Koki. That's exactly what you need.
But looking at the stats very fast, what do we have? We have Ari being the crowned queen with 35 games, 20 wins and 15 losses. Then there's LeBlanc with 25 games, 13 wins, 11 losses. And you've guessed it, Victor with 17 games, 4 wins, 13 losses. And then we have Rise and Silas.
Somebody has to lose, right? Somebody has to lose. That just happens to be Victor. There is nothing bad.
Poor guy.
But like mid lane is probably like the only role right now which has some diversity in it. I want to say.
Yep.
Where you kind of know what you get. It's just that anywhere else you don't have the biggest champion post for the vast majority of the players, because not everybody can be like Knight, who plays like anything at any point, because he has Rubble with him. So of course you're gonna get, like, if Ari is banned, for example, like LB is banned, of course you're gonna have like Victor, you're gonna have Syndra, Corki, like etc. If you have LB, you're gonna have Vex, etc. Like, mid lane just has more ability to counter pick. So you can get advantage for a team and go bot, because of course TP doesn't work for the top laners, so top laners are pretty useless. They're like on a literal island right now. So of course you need an active mid laner if you want to win. If you want to play like proactive, if you want to be snowborn, which is a key to win in EU Masters. Yes, you want a team fight, but if you can get 10k advantage at 20 minutes, you're pretty guaranteed to win, I think, because teams don't really know how to come back. And it's not very easy to come back in with bounty systems, so you always want to have an advantage. So of course you're gonna have like LBs, Aries.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. I think like overall, like most of the teams wanted to, like, of course, just like win in 10 minutes to chill. But I think there's like most of the mid laners, they're just not able to play properly, like Rise and Silas, like these kind of champions, and they don't know when to pick them. And
Rise has 2 picks in the Masters. 2 picks. What is this league even doing? For God's sake?
I mean, it's like
this is the prime example of EU players listening to the Reddit, which says that Rise has 35% win rate or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever awful number he has. We don't want to play it. Like, you see, is there any Galio in the mid lane? Not really. And then you watch like LPL, you watch LCK, and you see that Rise and Galio are just completely smorphing games. They snowball, they set up, they do everything.
Yes. I have a story, guys, about Galio. Right. So basically, when I was playing with Nuke deck, or like it was I think it was it was like the start of the previous year. And we were like, I think Galio was like kind of meta, I think, all around, and he said like some smart thing, like Galio will never win the game in Europe because Galio need a passport check. If you're not Asian, you cannot play Galio. It's just illegal. You can't win the games. So I mean, this is like how it's like. This shows why people like don't want to play these champions. You know, they literally, you know, like they just prefer the simple way. The simple way is just pick Corki. Just get 3 items and just take half HP with Rocket.
No kidding. It legit feels like Galio is easier champion. There is like nothing more simple.
No, but like I mean, in terms of like playstyle, with Galio, you need kind of impact the map, right? You need to like do like rotation.
I don't really need to impact the map. The worst case, you need some bloody like guy like Zanzarah who is going to like pick down the 4th, press the ult. That's all you need to do, and then you press ult yourself. That's literally how Galio was played in 2017 when he was reworked, and he was absolutely busted. And LPL teams literally played like this bloody Thunderdome every game. Every game they would win, and then run.
No, but we should understand there is like completely different mentalities in terms of like LEC and LPL. In LPL, they're really happy if they can do stuff, if their draft allow them to do stuff, and they can be pro.
So what you're essentially saying that LEC teams are never going to win World Championship.
No, I mean probably not in this year. Definitely. I mean, so basically, I'm talking like in general. Of course, there's like G2, you know, who were like, especially 19, you know, they were like doing the correct stuff, you know. But like overall, in general, the mental is different, you know. Of course, we saw like a lot of players who were like willing to play proactively, right? But in general, teams at the end of the day, they just back off to like, okay, guys, maybe we can scale, you know. But you don't see it in LPL, you know. You don't see like in this proactive region. In these regions, you just go all in. You just lose game in 10 minutes, but you tried at something at least. But in the LEC, they just prefer, okay, we just scale for 50 minutes, and then maybe we're gonna win, maybe we're gonna lose, but at least something.
But this is something I've actually noticed in Ultraliga too, because when we were casting, there was this heavy emphasis put on trying to roam towards the bot side of the map, right? Because top side is really rarely played right now, I would say. Well, it's not that preferable as bot side emphasis, right? You want to try to play around your bot side. You want to try to play around your AD carries. So we had a lot of roaming playstyles from the mid lanes, right? But nobody played Twisted Fate. Almost nobody. I think the only person who actually played some Twisted Fate was Knight from Agarog, but that was it.
Yeah, but again, like Twisted Fate is... There is like one common thing about Twisted Fate. It's very good at the elite level of play, and it absolutely sucks when your teams are average, mediocre, or straight up bad, because Twisted Fate has... he has very limited amount of tools in his inventory. He has even less tools than Galio, for example. Why would a team play, for example, like if you can play Corki and scale and hit things, and then you're gonna have package so you can impact the map anyway. Why would you ever play Twisted Fate, a champion which has a like 2-minute cooldown on his ultimate, which builds no damage until 35 minutes, and which absolutely requires to do something? Why would you ever do that? There is no need in that. That's why you're gonna play like Victor, you're gonna play. But I mean, in general, Twisted Fate is not honestly like the solution. Like if you pick Twisted Fate, you're gonna roam. Every champion should do that in the mid lane. Like unless you pick Orianna, for example, or maybe Victor, everybody else can roam. There is no problem with that. You see like Asian teams do that all the time. There is like no problem with like LB roaming, like Vex roaming. I know like even Viger roams, like the champions which use Predator, for example, they just like roam, run, and go, easy.
Yeah, Viger is broken. No lie.
Viger's
I
broken.
mean, it's more about like how teams use their like windows, because and overall like the pressure what they have on them. Because when you have Korpke, right, you can push the wave and move, right, if you have like free time, like nothing stop you, right? But you don't have feel pressure, like I need to roam, I need to do stuff, or I'm gonna lose the game. When you play Cork, you're like, I can roam, but that doesn't gonna change. Even like if I don't die, I can gonna get my items and win. But when I play like Silas TF, okay, I push the wave, I need to roam. What do? Oh, I cannot do anything. Oh, but I need to do something, and then I TP, I die, like I just lose the game, you know.
Plus, I mean, the problem with TF is another one. Most esports players, they're like ego kids who want to carry the game by themselves. They don't want to be like, I'm going to support this, I'm going to be a stun bot. That's just boring. This is not a high level fantasy. So of course they're going to play like champions which can have a 5-man shockwave, for example, even if it never happens, or like just kill everybody with a Victor. That's more fun. With Twisted Fate, it's like, it's okay, I stun this guy, and then 3 seconds later I stun him again, and then I can click Frost, and then I stun him 3 more times. Is it interesting? Is it fun? Not really. That also plays its role.
Although I have to say, I so much enjoy when there's a good play on Twisted Fate. This is a pure feast for your eyes.
Have you seen this season?
Yeah, not a often occasion, I would say. Definitely not.
It's like even though I see, for example, in the league, which is supposedly better than EUMasters, and it is better. EUMasters, I think, this season is like much weaker than it was before. But like, you watch playoffs, and you see even the best TF team in the league was absolutely like smurfed on.
Okay, it's important. It was not a pick problem. It was a player problem. Let's be honest. Okay,
Yeah, but then it happened 4 times in a row, and you're like,
yes.
man.
Okay,
Caps haven't picked even one Twisted Fate in the playoffs. I did my research, and he hasn't picked Twisted Fate in playoffs.
Who?
Caps.
Cool. Yeah, not
Caps. Jito isn't a good TF.
Yeah, I mean,
they played TF multiple times in the regular season. I remember those games.
Yeah.
And they were like
regular.
completely awful. They were like awful.
Yeah.
Straight up bad.
I mean,
it's just not a Caps champion. That's what I'm talking about. Caps needs a champion which is going to like carry, because he doesn't need the stun bot.
Right. So before we go to wait. We're trampling on a very very thin ice over here. We're trampling on G2 ice already, but we haven't still finished with EU Masters. So let's quickly jump to bot lane support. Let's combine. Let's merge these two together. That was a very very emotional merge from me. And let's very briefly just talk about what we've got there, because I'm genuinely disappointed, because I really thought that after the changes being introduced to Jinx in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 12.5B, right? 12.5 or 12.6? I can't really remember.
I'm not sure, but yeah,
one of these
she was nerfed, right?
Yeah, she was nerfed. So I was thinking, okay, so it's finally the time for my girl, Xayah or Kai'Sa, to be reintroduced. Well, I can go to hell apparently, because Jinx is the most played champion with 34 games, and she has a fantastic 50% win rate, 17-17. Then there's Xayah with 30 games with a fantastic 50% win rate, 15-50. And then there's Aphelios with 26 games with a fantastic 50% win rate, 13-13. So that sucks. That really sucks.
I mean, this is not sexy. Perfectly balanced champions at the EUEdition. Look,
like everything should be.
No, it just feels like ADC role is always the least interesting one, because there are very few marksmen at any point of the meta which are actually good, and that happens like all the time. It's not any new, because in the mid lane you have different playstyles. In the bot lane you do all the same stuff, and it's like. It's always, so if the poke champions are good, of course like Xayah is going to be insane, like Jhin is going to be insane, Misfortune is going to be insane, etc. If you have the on-hit AD carries, then there are going to be hyper carries, etc, etc. It just happens all the time. So, and Jinx knows really like that important, like 4 mana on the Q, level 1, I mean who cares? She gets like level 9 at 13 minutes, and she's fine after that. Not like you plan to win the game on Jinx by hitting the rocket level 1. Like nobody cares about that. So of course Jinx, Xayah, and Aphelios are going to be fine. Because also AD carries, they have played these 3 champions for the last 4 months straight up, maybe 5 months. Because only these 3 and Zeri won for meta. And Zeri got nerfed like 5 times since.
Yeah.
So of course these 3 have stayed.
She
so
fell off. She fell off a little bit. She has 24 games, but she's definitely not so popular as she was when she was introduced, basically.
Zeri's been I don't think I've ever seen a champ getting his all of its abilities nerfed multiple times, multiple patches. I don't think I've ever seen that. But that's that kind of happened. Good champion, I guess. Still decently strong, but not as good in a bruiser, I guess, because it kind of deals no damage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jinx, Xayah, and Aphelios. That's perfectly fine.
I mean, this is basically the trio right now that you see anywhere, right? It's a stable, good pick. You always can go for it. It pretty much always gonna work in any team composition. Just go ahead and pick it, right?
Yeah, simple as that. That's bot lane for you. Bot lane is always like, we're gonna do what we need.
The only thing is,
if you want to poke, you build around. The bot lane is just gonna fill the gap. If you need a hyper carry, then another team is going. The bot lane centric game is gonna be when the hyper carries are meta, right? When
my genuine problem. My genuine problem that I have right now is that I feel like right now in EU Masters. And I'm not saying this because of Reckless, right? But I'm saying this just in general. I think that we had a very strong presence of very good AD carries. We had Harpoon from Team Astralis Gaming, who is a really good AD carry. He's extremely good. We had Looker from Agarogue. I mean, the man almost got to the KDA of Chovy, for God's sake, which is a very, very, let's say, waning achievement. This is the thing. We saw those players performing on much more heavy playmaking champions.
Essentially, that hyper carries require more skill than Jinx.
No, my point is that I want to see those AD carries play something much more impactful, something much more playmaking, because we've seen Harpoon.
What can be more impactful?
No, wait.
In a bigger scale.
If you wanna play something more impactful, you just roll swap to mid lane.
ADC is just a role which does nothing.
I want to see more Kaisers, for example. Like these, a very well placed killer instincts Kaisers can change the course of anything.
Right now. Are we seriously trying to pretend right now that Kai'Sa is a high skill champion? The AP Kai'Sa, this absolute abomination.
I am not saying anything about high skill. I am saying about those champions that turn around games in an interesting way, like Killer Instinct, for example, because we've seen Harpoon play it.
No, that's just that's just like a wrong way of looking at the bot lane. The bot lane's idea in general is to survive and deal as much damage as you can. You don't really play for like, oh, okay, I'm going to be like UCI and I'm going to have like 10 highlights in span of a game. And I'm going to be insanely loved by the Reddit, but I'm going to lose. Like, nobody cares about that if you lose. But if you deal like 30k damage in the game and you won in 30 minutes, I mean, good stuff. That's ADC for you. The less you talk about it, the more likelihood, in biggest likelihood, the ADC played really good if you didn't talk about him at all. Because it means that he didn't make mistakes, that his support didn't end him a game, and then he did all he needed to win. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like overall, you don't really like see like bot lane matchups, but like kinda like decided by like level 3. Most of the time, you just see the like handshake Aphelios Jinx, and they just like farming.
Until you watch LPL.
Yeah.
Level 1, they just go fight.
Yeah, I mean this is true, but it's just like overall, like I mean, EDK doesn't really have like much impact in terms of like early game. It just by default, this is how EDK role works. You're the whole team playing for bot, and then of course, if your team is better, you're just gonna get ahead, and then it's up to you to like use your advantage. Of course, I mean you can always turn around the game, right? With the Aphelios with like 4-man ultimate, and Jinx rocket.
Jinx getting the resets,
this kind of stuff, but even though like you talk about Kai'Sa, the problem with Kai'Sa, she will just not survive the laning phase, it's like pretty good what she get like a lot of damage on 2 items, but you need to like survive till this 2 items, and this is the main problem overall. And I think, I mean, overall I'm still think there is like a lot of options to pick AP bot lanes like Ziggs, Xerath, especially into Aphelios, Jinx. They should be like really good, but the people
works really well into Aphelios. Really well.
I mean that, but people just like educated just don't want. They kind of like happy with their position, They're happy.
They can play it, but then we come to another moment where our favorite mid laners can play AP champion, and then you're like, well, guess I'm not gonna do it, because if you pick AP champion board, then you can't pick like a carry top, for example. You can go for a Gwen, you can go for Camille, etc. And then it's just like, man, I really want to pick Ziggs here because it's gonna win me a game. But if I pick it, then we're kinda gonna lose in the draft. So we're not gonna do that. And we're going to pick Aphelios once again, because why? Because it does everything well. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's remember to like it's important to remember what like every champion, like the team works together. So if you change like one champion, it's kind of affect other roles, and you can be blocked by just like not having enough champion pool on it like top side. I think it works the same for mid lane, for top side. And I mean this is why I think like when meta is established, kinda you have like these 20 champions. it's pretty hard to like just go outside of
Make
this.
any swaps, yeah.
Yeah, if your team is just you need to have 5 players like this, as we see, for example, like in G2, they do. Hey, and this is why they're like a lot of flexibility. They can just adapt, and I think like in your Masters, I don't think you have this level of teams.
Well, I wouldn't say so. Let's put it this way. I would definitely wouldn't say so. No, not in terms that you're incorrect. In terms that I agree with you, right? I wouldn't say so that these teams are that good. It's just that sometimes we see players step up with interesting AD carry picks, and I just crave more of that, to be honest. The last role before we jump into something that we have been poking all the time and waiting for the moment to jump onto this. So supports. I feel like this is relatively boring because we have Nautilus, Leona, Rakan to be the most popular. I'm happy that Rakan is getting his reintroducement in a way.
Wait. So having Xayah in the meta sucks, but having Rakan is good.
I didn't say that having Xayah sucks. Having Jinx and Aphelios sucks. Xayah wasn't there. She is in the EU Masters, but she was almost absent. For example, in the regular and playoff seasons of Ultraliga, she was almost absent.
Which says a lot about the league itself. Well, but yeah, supports are pretty same since the beginning. I think that's like one of the roles which have not changed at all since the beginning. Besides of course, the Renata edition.
I mean, Renata kind of swapped Thresh basically. Thresh is right now not extremely popular.
Not really. It's like Renata is just easier to play than Thresh. Thresh is always like, everybody wants to play Thresh. I think every support, well, in a way, every support wants to play Thresh and be this like walking highlight reel. But the problem with Thresh is that you don't really get that. That's why you don't pick like Blitzcrank, for example, even though you can be a highlight reel. It's just like the champ has more volatility to it. And with Renata, you always know what you get. With Leon, you know what you get. With like Rakan, you know what you get. With Nautilus, those champions are just easier to play than Thresh. That's why Thresh is.
Yeah, Nautilus is extremely straightforward, extremely effective. He has damage. He has the survivability. He has the hook. He has the control. He has pretty much everything.
He doesn't have an ability to revive your champion, which is why Renata is. Very meta.
Yeah.
Thanks, right.
Very good champ. Not gonna lie.
And the hostile takeover, of course, that can hit multiple champions and be a very effective crowd control, pretty much.
What's that?
The ultimate.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing the names of these abilities.
I do.
That's a quality cast for your mates. If you watch Ultraliga next season and you see that DrBrilmann and Solary are going to cast for you, that's the quality. That's what these guys do. That's how much they work.
This is something that I remember at the beginning, when we started to cast, or when I was practicing, every time when we had people rolling in and playing in those minor leagues, when you have like 5 or 10 viewers at Twitch and stuff like that, and people would pick champions, what I would do is always on the second monitor, I would Google the ultimates of every single champion, just to kind of remember them on the fly. So that when I would cast, I would always like refer to the second monitor, look at the name of the ultimate, and then go back. So yeah, this is basically how I learned them all. So let's go to the elephant in the room. Let's address it. G2.
Let's go.
And going to the MSI. So real quick, I'm gonna throw the stats for you. It's like I'm feeding the lions right now. I'm throwing you the meat. So Aphelios has been picked 7 times. Ari has been picked 6 times. Xayah and Javan IV have been picked 5 times. Nautilus and Rakan and Noon have been picked 4 times. Renata, Na, Camille, 3 games. Lee Sin, Trundle, Viego, Volibear, Silas, Jax, Viego, and Trindamir had 2 games. And then we have loads of champions that kind of just were there, like Lysandra, Misfortune, Pikens, whatever.
What is the question then?
Tell me how G2 are prepared to go to the MSI, and what are their drafts? what we can look for. Let's have
Or-
a
The one
big
good thing
talk about that.
G2 throughout the season was they experimented a lot since the very start. They had a lot of picks in the beginning. And in the beginning, I remember, even when we were casting it, we were like, is it the identity of the team? Are they going to stay with it until the end of the season? Or are they going to kind of figure out what's good for them and keep picking these things? But it turned out that G2 are ready for all of them. Turned out that they can play different styles, different things. And once Flact improved his laning, they kind of stopped leaving him on an island and stopped playing towards Broken Blade a lot, which opened a lot for them, which gave them a chance to play all this like Ornn thing, which they used in the playoffs to absolute extreme, etc. They're just like a good team which is very well prepared, the team which knows a lot, and a team which can really catch fire. Because I think after they got first game against Fnatic in the loser bracket, after they got absolutely smashed by them in the upper one. So they stole that game from Vitality, and then they picked the first win against Fnatic. I think at that moment they have already knew that they're going to win the championship, because they were not looking back after that.
Yeah, I mean, like G2, especially like in the lower bracket, they were looking like completely different team. I think, especially Yankas and Caps compared to their like upper bracket games versus Fnatic, they were like on another level. It was insane. They just start abusing like Ari, Jarvan, Ornn a lot. Let's be honest. So we'll see how it goes. I think if they gonna be able to manage to like keep the same level, and the MSI team is just gonna give them the same, like similar champions, not gonna kind of like target them somehow. Not sure how they supposed to do that. I think G2 could do like good at MSI overall, but I don't think they can beat like T1. Let's be honest, like T1 is not really reachable. I think at this point, not for any team.
The Chinese team is going to win.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think
if RNG go, RNG will definitely win.
I mean, we'll see.
I'm saying go, but if they're going to qualify, they're going to.
Yeah.
Win. I think they're better. And Tess is like a wild card, because Tess is like.
I mean, I think like.
I love the joke from the Reddit threads. It's like every time Tess lose, they make the joke that Jekyll whispers to Tian that Yankas is going to be at MSI, and Tian just turns into like Super Saiyan mode because he remembers how he stoned him. Because Jekyll and Tian have like beaten G2 a lot. Let's put it like that, a lot of times. So that's gonna play it a lot. But we'll see how it goes. I think G2 can definitely do a lot of damage. They're like very versatile, which is important for the international events, because at international events you can't play only like reactive. You're gonna get smashed by both like Korean teams, because Korean teams play reactive better than you, and Chinese teams play proactive better than you. So you need to be like very well balanced, very well coached. I think G2 can do a lot of damage. Can they win a BO5? They probably can. Can they win the entire tournament, which requires likely beating an LCK team and LPL team in span of 2 days? That's probably too much, but who knows, honestly, considering that they have gone through the lower bracket without dropping a map, which is not easy to do even if you're playing against the LEC teams. Maybe everything can work, and after all, Yankees and Caps have already won MSI before, so why the hell not second time?
And I just really looking at the overall this experimental and very interesting journey of G2, right? That they had in the whole split, in the regular splits, and the playoffs. It's just so interesting, at the very least for me, what they can potentially prepare more than we have already seen, right? Because I was so delightfully surprised when I saw Broken Blade pull out the Chemtech Akali Bruiser type of a build. That was so fantastic, and I'm still under the impression of it. I loved it.
Did that. The champion just was absolutely busted. So, I mean, the Asian teams did that, Broken Blade did that as well. I mean, Broken Blade is a very high quality player. People gave him a lot of flack for being like, nah, this guy can only play carries, pretty useless, when he went to TSM after being in Turkey. But I mean, one in an A, one in an EU, does everything, plays Warren, plays Tryndamere, Yona, like whatever he wants, whatever you need. Broken Blade is ready. This guy can challenge. It'll be like very interesting to watch because against Asian teams, right? You're gonna have like Zeus, who is very young, like 17 years old kid. First international event at home, which is a lot of pressure. Broken Blade, how is he going to be matched against that? How he's going to play against the RNG top side with Bin, or maybe against test top side where Tien just camps for Wayward. Will be really interesting to watch how it goes.
And
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, what can I say? What can I say? I mean, Broken Blade. I mean, the point about Broken Blade, he's like always ready to pick up the stuff pretty fast. I think if there is going to be something new, but I don't think there is going to be something new on top side. I mean, maybe. I mean, he's the kind of player who can play like Fiora Camille, right? We mentioned before. Mm-hmm. But I think they're like for sure not gonna like change in terms of like farming jungle styles. This is definitely not gonna work. They're gonna just continue like picking like Jarvan, Volibear, this stuff.
Legendary Yankees farming style, which
yeah.
so well at Worlds multiple times.
So I mean, I think we can see with some new picks, but we're not gonna see the difference like or the changes in the playstyle for sure.
There's no need to change the playstyle.
Yeah.
They have like G2 have essentially a perfect playstyle for the international tournaments because they can be really versatile. They have really good solo lanes which can be very independent and play with like their jungle because the jungle doesn't want to farm. So for this meta, if it stays like this, they're fine. If meta is going to turn into a hyper carries, for example, let's say in the summer, that's going to be an entirely different beast because I think G2 are going to be way worse if they play for this like the hyper carry style. They're not going to be very like this good. So this is like almost a perfect storm. If it stays like this, they're going to be very well positioned to make a run.
I guess it's also really depends on how they're going to evolve, let's say, because even if it turns into a hyper carry meta, I can see the world where Broken Blade and Caps would be very, very successful. Because, I mean, think about Caps in this playoffs and his Ahri performances. I mean, holy mother of God, he made Medic curse on the broadcast because of what he was doing when he stole that dragon, for example.
Yeah, he's not gonna exceed the champion, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, Ahri gonna be permabanned.
I'm not surprised.
It's going to be either permabanned.
Or first
but
pick.
if he's going to face like Faker, Selho on Knight, those are like those are like insane Ahri players in their own good. So this champion, if the champion stays meta, which is not guaranteed, but I mean, she's gonna be fine. And like, for example, if Zoe is buffed, of course Ahri is gonna stay. But we'll see what because it's not about like the personal outplays can give G2 advantages. It's always more about like how to close the game. If you can't close the game fast against the LPL team, they're going to drag you into a swamp. Where you're just going to fight with them until they win, or you lose so much that you're going to be so like tired by the time the next game begins that you're just like wasted. And against Korean team on their home soil playing a late game, hell no, man, not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean overall, like, from this like lower bracket run, I think G2 in general had like decent mid games. Of course, they had like some cooldown faster games in early games. I remember, especially like game 3 versus Fnatic. I think
Vitality games.
Yeah,
like
Vitality games. I think Vitality games you can't really count as a.
Vitality games.
It's a whole another topic. It's a whole another topic.
Yeah.
I think it's so fitting. It's so fitting that they played that series on April Fools. Because that was as bad as the day itself.
I mean, yeah, it's true. You know, it's like if they play versus Vitality, they just drop to Vitality level. You know, Vitality just have more experience. But yeah, at the end, G2
But yeah, we'll see how it goes, because I think the key for G2 at MSI is going to be like the bot lane, right? Targamas is an insane player. People said a lot about like Karmine Corp in the past. That Karmine Corp like absolutely boosted. Look at this Adam kid, etc. Turned out that Sekov and Targamas were literally 2v8 every game. Because Seiken this season is awful, for example.
Adam is awful as well.
You have Xmatic who struggled mightily in LEC in the first half of the split. We'll see how he does like next season, if he of course doesn't get replaced randomly by anybody. And Adam, well, whatever.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about it.
Not talk about it. Yeah.
So yeah, if Targamas can keep playing like he does in Europe, that's gonna be important to watch, because the one position Western scene always lacked against the Asian teams were like the support role, because there were like almost no like real good supports. Like Mickey X in his prime was decent, but he was still no match for this like Asian supports who completely like dunk the games like Mink does, like Meiko does, like Korean supports like.
Maybe only Hilly when he's not coin flipping.
Because Targamas is gonna face Kyria, who might be the best player in Korea right now, who is like the MVP, the first time the support has ever got MVP in LCK. And he's gonna face either Ming or Mark, who just turned us around. So we'll see how that goes. If Targamas can be better than both, there is like a hope that G2 or like whoever, like maybe Fnatic or like the European team in general, is gonna maybe even win World Championship. Who knows?
Oh, positive attitude, I like it. I mean, yeah, I mean, like I can agree on what like Targamas is actually like one of the reasons why like G2 is super strong right now.
Targamas is an exceptional support, definitely.
Yeah, I think overall, I think if you're gonna able to play like he did in lower bracket or in MSI, but I'm not sure. Like, yeah, I'm not sure how like if you're gonna handle the pressure the same well. Like, because it was like from outside it was look like he didn't give a fuck. He just do the things what he want to do, and like he doesn't feel pressure at all. You know, if he can do the same at MSI, yeah, we can see a lot of stuff. For sure from G2.
Actually, you know, I think I do have an idea how that might go, because I remember Targamas in the KC, and when Adam was in the KC too, right? It was 2021 spring. Yeah, I'm talking about spring split right now. And I mean, yes, he was performing good. He's an exceptionally talented player, but I don't think that you would like pitch picture him and say, yeah, this guy is the most interesting player in the whole team. You had Adam, who was popping off, and back in the ERL and the LFL, he was indeed popping off hugely thanks to his creative, let's say, at the time, champion pool. And you had Seiken, too, who was extremely good, and Synkrov, right, who was this developing jungler. So I really think that Targamas, both with his champion pool and himself as a player, really stepped up thanks to the overall atmosphere that he has right now in G2. Because I strongly feel like one of the reasons why they get away with a lot of things that they're doing is because they're working really well together. They have a very good cohesion. They have very good understanding of how to work with each other. And it helps them and it elevates their everything they're doing. And I feel like Targamas is receiving a lot of support in this, and therefore he's able to give more as a player, and now he really shines at G2 much more than he shines in the K-Corp.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can say I think overall, I mean, I think in K-Corp he was just like not that experienced, but I think K-Corp had like a really good this like atmosphere, you know, like around also, and this is why they were like, yeah, they were just won EU Master 2 times. But I think like he just like lucky he had it in kickoff and then he went to G2 and he had it here, you know. So he just like increase his growth like exponentially. It's like, and this is why we see G2 right now, like this like miracle run, you know. His performance, like I mean he was like the best support like in players for sure, DrBrilmann. Yeah, I mean, I think like G2 was like always the team who had like reputation with the good atmosphere around and know how to work around the players and just fulfill their needs. Yeah, I think like from the mental side, like on the team everything is good. So you just like you just need to play good. That's all.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to ask you one last question, and we are going to wrap it up for today. So, based on everything that we have said, give me your take on the best draft in ranked solo queue climbing you can think of.
Solo queue, it's a different game.
I know, that's why I'm saying this. I want you to give me...
Solo queue follows the same rule which Nikolai used before. Just be simple.
Yeah.
The simpler the champion is.
You don't have to be serious. I'm just reminding you. You don't have to be serious.
No, but you can't not be serious and talk about the green in solo queue, because if you're gonna say some like meta stuff, non-meta stuff, which is like hard to execute, yes, it might win you a game, but it's going to lose you 10 games and force you to dodge 3 more times because your players just don't want to play with you. So yeah, like the simpler champion is the more likely you get to win. That's why you see what's like the highest win rate champ right now. Let's see.
I'm genuinely curious what we're gonna hear right now.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I mean, the highest win rate champ right now is like the bot lane Kathos. That's as simple as it gets, because Kathos is an insane slow queue champ.
It's actually area broken. Especially on bot lane, like, yeah,
Whoever thought that buffing Karthus is a good idea? He's as smart as buffing the one who buffed Jux for the 3rd time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
These champions are going to run.
Okay, I like it.
Soon.
I like it. Okay, so Karthus bot, go on. We have 4 more lanes. Go on.
I mean, apparently mid lane Pyke has the highest win rate.
Mid lane Pyke, go on.
Okay.
The Sona is the highest win rate.
Where?
Is support, of course.
Support. Okay, so okay.
I mean, Sona is always like good in solo queue, right?
So Sona Karthus bot lane?
Yeah. Wait, I love it.
To do anything, right?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Come on.
Look, we have a mid lane Pyke to do stuff for us. So
Okay, it's true actually.
So the highest win rate top lane is, you know what? That's that is a girl with a bird. That's a Queen and Veiler. Another champion who is going to do stuff for us. Going to rogue to the
So top is going to be Quinn. Right?
And we need a jungler. And the highest win rate jungler is the bloody Shyvana.
Shyvana. Fantastic.
Who has this absolutely awful like tank build. With
fantastic
Demoic Embrace, which is like absolute like man.
Wait, this I saw actually. I think it's what's completely useless.
No. Wait, I love it. Just think about what we have. So, ladies and gentlemen, in case you want to grind solo queue right now, this is your best team composition according to Champions Queue.
I'm pretty blind sure that if I've seen that comp, I dodge and pay 3 of them.
Wait. So it is top lane Quinn, jungle Shyvana tank build, mid Pyke, bot Karthus, and support Sona. I think that's fantastic. I genuinely think this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, sounds good. It's time to draft it on stage. Let's go.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking here with us for the Champions Queue. We had Zanzarah here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We had Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
And it was DrBrilmann. We are going to see you next time in some amount of time. But for now, thank you very much and enjoy your Masters and maybe even MSI, we'll see. See you next time.